going on, guys? First episode of the Fantasy Football Wrap-Up. I'm Donnie. I'm with Tyler and Scott.
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
We're just going to be going over the top 20 fantasy football players for this upcoming year.
Yeah.
Start with Tyler. Who do you got at number one?
I got David Johnson at number one. I know a lot of people like Le'Veon Bell as well, but David Johnson was way too big of a factor last year, and I don't really see him being less of a factor this year. So I like David Johnson this year.
Yeah, I'd go with that too. I think he's pretty solid. I mean, just a hair. I think he's a little more healthier than Bell too. I think Bell might have a slight risk. Bell's never quite finished a season unhealthy, or mainly because of suspensions as well. But he's never played 16 games. But yeah, I think that's why DJ gets the slight edge over him.
All right, makes sense.
Yeah.
Scott, who do you have at number two?
Yeah, I got Lev Bell. I mean, a lot of people might like we talked about, like Bell a little bit better. Obviously we don't, but it's close. It's really, really close. So there's an argument that can be made for it, but he is dynamic.
He is dynamic.
I mean, he's a wide receiver. He's a running back. We'll see if his holdout, that's something you want to keep an eye out. If he doesn't play all through training camp and holds out, maybe that changes it. Maybe you want to go look at another back there. Just because if you don't play if you don't play training camp, you miss a week or two because of a contract, then you're talking 6 weeks we haven't played. You're talking hammies, quad pulls, something you want to keep an eye out if you got someone else taking.
Another one right there you want to keep an eye out if Zeke gets actually suspended. I mean, I don't know, you might go Antonio Brown at 2 then if that's going to be a situation.
There is all kinds of options.
Yeah.
There is. So we'll get into that too. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be very, very soon. But I think right now I'd probably go Bell at 2.
I agree with that 100%.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Tyler, who do you have at 3?
As it stands right now, I think Ezekiel Elliott's probably your best bet at 3.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be up in the air because if he gets suspended,
that is really questionable.
It's questionable if
we thought it was pretty much a lock. Getting ready, doing some prep work here for the show. Even prior, but
we made the list before the suspension news even came out.
Yeah. So, but now, I mean, if it's guys, the way I look at it is, if it's 1 game or 2,
you still take him at 3.
You still take him, right? I think it's going to be 2, and I think at least that's what some people are reporting. It looks like that's what it's going to be. He'll probably appeal it. He'll probably get 1 game. But even if it's 2, I still think I take him 3. He's that good. If it's 3, 4. I think he drops, and if it's 6, like it should be for that particular rule on domestic violence.
It is.
If it's 6, boy, I don't know how far he falls.
You might not even be able to take him in the 3rd if it's 6. I mean,
well, maybe they'll not get crazy, but definitely first, second. I mean, I don't think I'm taking him.
Your normal fantasy leagues, they go 14 weeks. So if you're missing 6 of those, or you're not with your number 1 pick, but your 3rd round pick, it's a lot to overcome. I mean,
it is.
You have to draft very well at the later rounds to be able to overcome that.
So stay tuned. We'll have to keep an eye out on his suspensions, and we'll have more updates as the year goes on as well on him.
Yes, sir. Scott, what about 4?
I like Antonio Brown here.
Me too.
I think he's the best receiver in the game. At least fantasy-wise, he's probably not the most physically talented. That's probably maybe Julio or Odell, but you want to talk about that's consistent? I mean, he is Mr. Consistent. I mean, every year since God, I can remember 4, 5, 6 years here. Probably about 5 years. He has been the guy.
I know some people get confused and a little concerned when Martavius Bryant comes back, but he's actually better.
Yeah, he's better.
Yeah,
so when Martavius is on the field, he averages 113 yards per game. When Martavius is off the field, which seems to be a lot, he's under 89. It's like 88 point something, 88.6 I think it is. So now Martavius is supposed to be back this year, as long as he stays clean.
Yeah, he should. I mean, this is his last
chance. It's going to open up a lot of
so
underneath stuff. Martavius is a really big deep threat, and Brown is too. But Brown, he's a good route runner. It's one of the things that makes him so great. So I don't know.
Brown reminds you of like Fitzgerald back in the day. Like he would just go anywhere and it doesn't matter.
Long
even with
route,
Bolden on the
underneath,
team, he would still
across,
do it.
drags. Yeah, he can do quite a bit. So I think he's the first receiver off the board.
Yeah.
Tyler, who do you have rounding off the top 5?
At 5, I have Odell Beckham. I mean, I thought about Julio here, but the targets are almost 170 last year for Odell. So, I mean, without that many targets, I mean, I understand Brandon Marshall's there, but I think that just more so takes coverage off of him a little bit.
Yep.
And, maybe the safety can't cheat as much over to him, and if he does, then look for Brandon Marshall later on. But
I think they can't shift as much coverage over there. I agree
that's what I
there.
think. And
if he can get more efficient, I mean, he has the potential to really be the WR1, but unfortunately, he hasn't taken that yet, and I think he might go up in efficiency, and I think he might go down in touchdowns, because I think Marshall's going to take some of those red zones.
Yeah, the red zone ones, he's going to lose that. Because, I mean, even Sterling Shepard took a little bit from him last year.
He did. Now you had Marshall, and you still got Shepard, and then you got the tight end.
You got that Paul Perkins kid they like a lot.
That running back, So, but I think he gets more catches and more yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he had 101 last year. I could see him, 110.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
Yep.
I mean, he's probably going to be around the 1,300 yards like he was last year. I see 8 to 10 touchdowns again.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see why he doesn't do that, but
it's a little high for my liking. But.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't score touchdowns for 6 straight weeks, so he still finished with 10.
And a lot of these guys up here too is going to be preference, right? Like I had OBJ, I've had him.
Yeah.
He's been okay for me. He's been high, he's been low, so I'm down on him probably more than someone else that maybe hasn't had him and just looks at the overall production.
Yeah.
So he's not as high, but he's definitely high.
Yeah,
he's definitely good. So.
All right, Scott, who do you have at 6?
I got Julio, and Julio's guy I'd probably take above OBJ. I know he had a bad year last year, but if you look at the 2 years before that, I mean, he was untouchable. He was a monster. Yeah, he doesn't get a lot of touchdowns, but when you get 130 catches and 1,500 yards, you always don't need to have
insane,
13.
Yeah.
He's not touchdown reliant, which is really good because those guys are touchdown reliant, like an OBJ. Well, not even OBJ, but. Those kind of guys, it's difficult to rely on them.
I think Mike Evans is more touchdown reliant.
Yeah, probably.
So someone like that.
And you're not going to get a lot of guys that gave you 16, 17, 20 touchdowns at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I mean, it's
very rare.
hard,
so
especially with the way tight ends are used
You need a guy that's going to catch the ball a lot, get a lot of receiving yards. I like him over OBJ. I think his quarterback is better than Eli Manning. Eli Manning's getting up there in age. I don't know if he's going to slow down.
Yeah.
So I like the offense. Julio's in better. Matt Ryan seems to be really coming into his.
I think he gets a little bit more targets this year too.
I think so too. If he can just stay healthy, that's the knock on him. He always gets dinged up. He doesn't miss usually huge amounts of times, but he'll miss a game or two with an ankle or come out of a game with an ankle.
I mean, he had I think it was 3 or 4 games last year. He scored under 10 fantasy points.
Yeah. He had 4 games where he had under 40 fantasy points. I mean, under 40 yards.
Under 40 yards.
It's like under 40 yards receiving in 4 games.
And if you're in standard, that screws you. If you're in standard, that's hard. We play PPR. I know that's our preference. I know a lot of you guys do play standard, but I mean, at 6, if you get Julio at 6 in standard, Dynasty, whatever leagues you guys play. I mean,
I think he's still good. Again, it's just the question of the health with him. I mean, he's gonna get the looks, the targets. How can he not? He's like 6, 7.
He's a freaking nation.
Whatever he is, you know what I mean. So I think he's we have him as the 3rd wide receiver off the board.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Tyler, who do you have next?
I got Mike Evans here. It was a toss-up between him and LaShawn McCoy, but Mike Evans, had most targets in the NFL last year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just added Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe his production dips a little bit, but I think the touchdowns go up, personally, red zone. And, Cameron Brate likes to steal some of those targets away, but...
I don't think. I think he's going to be a monster. I think this is his breakout year. I think he goes right to maybe W2, W3 stats. I think he goes ahead of Julio this year.
Yeah.
I mean, his quarterback loves to throw to him first.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, which is great. I think Jackson taking the top off the defense on the other side is going to help his efficiency. So I don't know if he gets more targets, but I think he's going to catch more. I mean, there was a run last year towards the end of the year where Winston, all he was doing was chucking it up there and into triple coverage.
And if you owned Mike Evans last year in the playoffs, it kind of screwed you because he had like 9 points.
He had a great week 17. Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike Evans.
Yeah, right. Everyone else is sitting on that defense.
Yeah, since fantasy's over. I mean, unless your playoffs go to week 17, if they do, then Mike Evans was probably good for you in the championship game. But ours stops at 16 like most. So he had that really stretch of bad runs, and he had a stretch of good runs, and. So I think what they did, getting they got Howard, they got Brady, they got 2 good tight ends that they can start, so they can do all kinds of different offenses. And they don't have 3 or 4 receivers. It isn't like the Patriots of Green Bay's offense. So.
I mean, he did have 1,300 yards, so I mean, you really can't complain about that.
You can't look. I mean, 175 targets. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Scott, where are we looking at 8 after you have that?
So like Tyler said, I got LaShawn McCoy here. I think he's the 4th best running back coming out of the thing here. I know there might be some people that like other people.
I'll tell you, if Elliott misses any time, I like McCoy better than Elliott. I mean,
yeah,
maybe not one or two games, but if he gets the suspension it should be for domestic violence.
I mean, he's a beast. He runs the ball, he catches the ball. Buffalo loves to use him first, and that's that's one of the things you want to look for when you're picking in your first and second rounds because they're your prizes.
Oh yeah,
you have to draft the guy that's going to be the guy.
Yeah,
right. You don't draft a 2 receiver in the first round.
No,
you know what I mean. You don't go after Adams in Green Bay when Nelson's there. Like you go for the guy. Yeah. And that's what McCoy is in Buffalo. They're going to run him 30 times a game, and they're going to throw to him probably 4 or 5 times a game. In our PPR league last year, he was a monster.
He was a monster.
So I like him a lot, and I know they got a new coach in there, but apparently they're going to run that.
Yeah,
they're still going to feed him.
Where was he last year? One of the offensive lines that was really good last year for one of these teams. Can't remember what team it was, but the offense had an awesome offensive line. So I think that and that coach is actually on record saying that McCoy is going to be 30-touch guy this year. So.
Yeah, and they got Watkins coming back too, so that should help maybe take some pressure of those stacked boxes in there. But even if they're stacked boxes, he catches the ball better than maybe
you can't really cover him out of the backfield.
No.
And anyone that's watched the Buffalo games, I mean, you see him catch one of those plays, it looks like he's dead, he turns the other way and goes for 40 yards.
Yeah, even against the Patriots, who have a good defense this year, Miami's not so much, and the Jets are, that's the Jets.
Yeah.
But even if he's matchup proof.
He is.
Because he catches the ball, so he doesn't have to run for $150. So.
Tyler, who do you have at 9?
9, I went Melvin Gordon here. I went with a pure upside. I think he could be a million times better than last year. Yeah. I mean, he got hurt at the end of the year, which kind of hurt his stats. But
missed 3 games of record, and then the other game that he got hurt in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So it's almost 4 games. I mean, I know he finished under 100 yards, but I mean, 80, 90 yards a game, and he's probably 1,400 yards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we might be talking about him over LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, he could be very well. I mean, 200. He had more carries than McCoy did last year, missing 4 games. So, I mean,
it's pretty.
He could be. They like to. I mean, they did add a lot of people on that offense.
Yeah, they are loaded, but they do like to run their goal line heavy. You know, with him, and the good thing is too, guys. If you don't remember, Danny Wood did not come back. They let him go to Baltimore. There is nobody else. They got rid of Gillislee to our Patriots. So there is nobody behind him.
Another one to follow up. Gillislee isn't in Buffalo either, so that's another good thing for McCoy.
Yeah.
Not losing any of those goal line touches.
Yep.
Scott, who do you have running up the top 10?
I got AJ Green. I think that's kind of right where he falls. He's coming off an injury season, so I don't think you can put him much higher. Maybe years past, I think you probably could have put him a little higher because he is an elite 1, and he's the guy, for the Bengals. So, I like AJ Green there. He's tall. He's going to get most of the targets. I mean, they only have him and Eifert. Eifert gets hurt a lot.
They drafted John Ross, but really, he's just speed. You're lucky he might get you 2 touchdowns.
He's the third option. He's going to get a deep ball here or there. I mean, you got Brandon LaFellow there. He ain't stealing any carries. All the offense is going to go through him.
100%.
So you got a top 10 guy. I think that's what you look for. That's what I look for is the opportunities, whether it's carries or targets.
And Andy Dalton loves him. So
he does. He goes through these big plays. He can run all the routes. He's somewhat like we talked about.
He's actually like the opposite of Julio Jones in the red zone. All the targets go to AJ Green, and none of them go to Julio Jones.
Yep.
I was Julio Jones owner and was disappointed by that last year.
Yeah, that's a funny stat. So yeah. AJ Green I think rounds out my top 10.
Yeah.
All right. Tyler, we're about 11.
So I got Jordan Howard here, another upside guy. That offense, they're gonna stink again, but he's the one part of that offense that could, be huge, keep them relevant. They play in a weak division. None of those teams can stop the run. Minnesota does have a good defense, but he ran all over them.
He ran all of them. He's another guy that's matchup proof.
Yeah.
So they should. I like that pick there too. Like you said, he has tremendous upside.
He does.
He got 252 carries last year, and he didn't even start the first 3 or 4 games. That went to Langford.
I know a lot of people don't like to hear the comparison. I'm not saying he's him, but that's exactly the case with David Johnson the year before. And
that's correct, yeah.
Not saying that that's what he's going to be, and don't draft him thinking that's what he's going to be.
Right, because Johnson catches the ball. He's a receiver.
Yeah, he's a lot better receiver.
Howard's not as much of a receiver there, so.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking 252 carries. If he got 20 carries a game for 3 games, that's 60. That's about in at 310, which would put him second in the league in carries.
Yeah, to DeMarco Murray, right?
Yeah, he probably had
Elliott.
To Elliott.
Yeah, he would have passed DeMarco Murray with that.
Yeah, so he probably would have had 1,500 yards, 1,600. He finished 13?
He might have led the league in rushing if that was the case.
Yeah, 13 and 6 touchdowns. He probably would have had 3 games, 100 at 1,600 right there. I mean, that's That's up there. I think Elliott had 1631 to lead the league.
Yeah.
So he literally could lead your league in rushing.
The thing that hurt him this season, where he could have been maybe a lot, he probably would have been above Melvin Gordon with a lot of this, maybe even McCoy, if he would have scored more touchdowns last year.
Yeah, that was a knock. He only had six, and 3 came in the San Francisco snowy game there.
It did.
So or rainy game, whatever it was. So that's a knock on him, but. We'll have to see. And don't worry about the Mitch Trubisky thing, too, with no quarterback. Oh, my God. And don't relate it to Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
Guys, Chicago didn't have a quarterback last year either.
No, yeah.
I don't care what you think of Jay Cutler, Brian Hoyer, Matt Barkley.
None of them are good.
Please. They're all Mitch Trubisky. Throw them in a hat and pick one, and they're all the same.
Tell you what, watch what Carlos Hyde does this year, and then try comparing that to what Howard did last year.
It's going to be no difference.
That is.
It's going to be no difference. So he should be just fine.
Scott, where are we going at 12?
One of my favorite guys. I've never had him. I've always wanted to draft him. I've never been in a position to draft him. I usually draft up high. Is Jordy Nelson.
Purposely traded him away from him a couple times.
Yeah, he gets no love. You want to talk about that's consistent? 14 touchdowns again last year. I mean, he just doesn't get the love. I mean, why he isn't rated higher than AJ Green?
I have no idea because he has in fantasy it's him and Brady. Rodgers and Brady are the two best fantasy quarterbacks, and he has Rodgers.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone talks about Rob Gronkowski like he's the greatest thing,
right?
Because he has the quarterback,
right?
But I mean, Jordy Nelson gets no love.
He doesn't.
I mean,
and you want to talk about now the reason why we have him, or at least I have him, a little under AJ Green, which. AJ Green is going to get a lot more big play potential.
Yeah, he definitely does.
Jordy Nelson's really not going to do that. He's going to get 7 catches, 80, 90 yards and touchdown, 2 touchdowns occasionally, which is great, don't get me wrong. But he's not putting up 300. Like a Julio Jones will. That's really why, the only thing I can think of is why he hasn't, elevated himself into the top 5.
And honestly, last year, I gave up on him too early. I mean, he had the touchdowns in the beginning of the year, but he didn't have any yards. So I was like, I got to move on from him, and it literally cost me a championship by moving on from him because of the way he played. I
agree, because we were talking about it. He was asking me what do I think, and we're looking at the matchups, and he's got like Minnesota, Seattle.
These aren't good matchups.
It's like, oh my God, let's trade him for. Sometimes you got to be careful on matchups. Sometimes the guy you get up this high, don't worry about the matchups. You know what I mean? Some of these guys are matchup proof, and Jordy Nelson, he's going to get you 90-plus balls. He's going to get you double-digit touchdowns.
Oh, yeah, every
1,000, 1,200 yards. He is rock solid. He just doesn't have big play potential, which is why I think you get him on the swing.
Yeah, and he might have had big play potential maybe 3 or 4 years ago where he could catch maybe a 40-yard touchdown.
He's getting a little older. He's 32. He's probably got about a year or 2 left at this position.
And that might be a little bit of why he falls, but I don't know. If you're getting him at 12, that's after your swing in 10-team leagues, and if you're at 12, getting him at the last pick of the first round, I think that's a steal.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's what I'd be saying, too.
There's no other receiver right there that's going to get you that kind of production.
There isn't. There's no receiver that's going to get you that at that place.
So, yeah, I like him at 12.
That's guaranteed to get you that much.
Yeah.
Very good points. Tyler, I know you like the guy we're going to talk about at 13.
Yeah, this is actually one of my favorite players in this draft. Michael Thomas. The upside with this guy is insane.
Yeah.
Drew Brees, he's a great fantasy quarterback. I mean, they lost 200 targets last year between Hightower, Cadet, Brandon Cooks.
Yeah,
went to New England, and I think his targets go up. I could see 50 more this year. I think the touchdowns go up, but he was one of the most efficient receivers last year. He only got 122 targets and still had 92 catches.
Yeah.
Over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. He's a big red zone target.
Yeah,
so.
And I think the running back is where they're going to make up all those catches too.
I agree.
Cook's got a $115 in, I think it was 115, 117 in receptions last year.
Yep.
I bet a good 90 to 100 of those go to...
the running backs?
No, the receiver they signed. They signed Ted Ginn Jr.
Ted Ginn,
I think he's going to get a lot of those.
He should get a lot of those.
Yeah, I could see catches
80
them all.
or
That's
90 of
nothing.
those.
Yes, I think those 80 balls that go to the running. I mean, they drafted. They signed Adrian Peterson,
which he's
and
never been
Mark Ingram. Neither one of them is a third down back. So those 80 catches, they're probably going to go to Thomas because he does the curls, the drags, the outs, stuff like that. So I think he's going to get a lot of those short yardage catches. to make him.
The thing for me about Michael Thomas is just the red zone, because he is a big body. You know, Drew Brees is going to go to him. Kobe Fleener, we all know that experiment.
Comes and goes, yeah.
He's either on or he's off, and 90% of the time he's off. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's option 1 too, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know they got Willie Snead too. He was a nice little slot player, like a little Edelman.
Yeah, I like Willie Snead too. He's one of my sleepers.
I like Willie Snead, but Thomas is the one there, so he should get a lot of targets. I don't like him as much as you do, but
I just think the floor for him is just really, really, really high. I think his floor is why I would draft him.
He does have a high floor.
You're getting him at 13, so again, you're at that swing, and if you can come away with Jordy Nelson and Michael Thomas, I mean that's a pretty good.
I think he's the last of you guys too that's going to get you double-digit touchdowns. I think after him, everybody else starts to take a small drop off.
I agree with that.
So whether you're standard or PPR, I think Thomas is still going to be solid. I think he's going to get 10, 11 touchdowns, and he's going to get yards too. He's going to be 12, 1,300 yards.
And some of you guys might not agree with it because you might draft differently. If you're in a standard league, maybe you go running back here.
Yeah.
But for me, I would go. We play PPR, so I would go Michael Thomas here. That's where I would go at 13.
Yeah.
And actually, he may very well be my second pick. I have the 9th pick in the draft this year, so on that swing, I may get him on the next round.
11.
So that's where I am on him.
All right.
Okay.
Scott, what about 14?
Yeah, I got T.Y. Hilton, which. I kind of go back and forth on those two guys. If Hilton got more touchdowns, I might like Hilton there better.
100% with you. If he could get into the 10 touchdown range, he's better than Michael Thomas because he gives you the double digits.
The problem is he usually doesn't, right? He had 6 last year.
I don't know if he ever has got 10.
Not that I know.
Not that I remember.
Right.
I've had him almost every year.
Yeah,
so.
he's never quite there. It's 6 to 8 somewhere on there.
Yep.
But in our league we're PPR. We get points for obviously per reception, and we get bonus points for over 40 yards receiving.
Or
on a catch.
Yeah.
So he gets a lot of those. He'll get 40, 50-yard catches, and they might not even be a touchdown. It might just be a 45-yard catch.
Sometimes you don't need that in this type of a league. Again, it is all on how you're scoring.
In our league, it's why he's high. Even though he only, for a guy that wants to go get you 6 touchdowns, like he's ranked pretty high. And that's why for us, if you're in a standard league, then I'd like Michael Thomas certainly better than him. But, to me, he's the next guy. In our league, it's really wide receiver driven.
It is.
We start 3 wide receivers, and we have 2 flexes, either a running back or a receiver.
You can go 5 if you want to go 5
wide. So you can go 5 wide, and we do.
Yeah,
we have guys
most of the teams that go to the finals, they are 5 receivers or at least 4 heavy receivers.
Yeah. Well, it's just such a deeper position. Just in general in the field, most teams start 2, 3, 4, 5. You ain't starting 5 running backs.
There's a guy.
At once,
there's a guy on our team, our league, a couple years ago that drafted. I think it was 5 or 6 straight wide receivers.
Yeah, straight,
and he ended up winning the championship that year. It was pretty insane.
That was pretty good. So I like T.Y. right there.
All right, Tyler, who do you have running out the top 15?
I'm gonna go back to running backs right here. Devontae Freeman for me. I like that Telvin Coleman's on that team because statistically he is better with Coleman on the field. A lot of people don't know that, but he is going to be better there. He only had just over 1,000 yards, which is kind of disappointing because if you look at him, it looks like it's a lot more than 1,000.
Yeah.
Like just if you see Devontae Freeman and he gets all these carries, and I think he could be better this year. I think he gets more touchdowns this year.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he gets more carries too. He's a little light in the carries at 227 he had last year. I think he gets a few more this year. Coleman's going to get hurt like he does the past 2 years. That's a matter of time. So. And Freeman he's the first, second down back. He's the goal line back. They didn't bring anybody else in to take that job over. That should continue. We got a lot of hype from the Super Bowl. He had a good Super Bowl, except for the block on Hightower.
That was a bad block. And he still doesn't acknowledge that.
Right, but he still catches the ball. So he's a solid fantasy back.
54 catches.
PPR or standard.
Yeah, he was 54 catches last year.
Yeah.
Almost 500 yards and a couple touchdowns. I mean, I would take that on my running back all day long.
Yeah.
Especially if you get him at this pick.
Yeah, I had him for a brief stint last year. In the weeks I had him, he didn't do anything. I traded him away and he went off.
Yeah, he did.
So
he's like 20 a week.
I have a little bias. I like my next guy a little bit better than him, but that's only because I'm biased because I had him. He didn't produce, but he's pretty solid with standard or PPR. And if you're dynasty, you really want to look at it because he's young.
Yeah, he is young.
Over the guy I'm going to talk about next, where
he was a little bit older.
Who's a little bit older, so that that's why another way we have Freeman apart.
Yeah.
His age.
All right, Scott, who's the guy you have at 16?
So I like DeMarco Murray.
Me too.
I like solid, dependable. Not going to blow you out of the way. He's not going to run for $170 and 3 touchdowns. You know what I mean? But in our league, running backs, a good running back for a second rounder will get you about 20 points or so. The great ones start getting you 25 to 35. And boy, there wasn't a more consistent guy last year.
There
to give
wasn't.
you 20 points a week in our league.
He was given 20. Like you could just.
It was a lock.
It was a lock.
I don't really remember a time he didn't have it. Honestly,
I think
seriously, I swear.
I think his lowest game. He did have one because he got hurt in a game, and that was the game where.
Yeah, I remember that.
I forget which one it was, but I was playing against him that week. That's the reason why I remember that.
Yep.
But he was literally 21 or 22. It was like he'd have 9 points going in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
They have a lead, and the next thing you know, he punches 2 touchdowns before the game's over.
Yeah, and don't worry about the losing the carries to Henry either. I mean, he had 293 last year. Let's say he loses 50 carries. That puts him in the 240 range.
And you're still getting him in pick 16. That's still a steal for a guy
halfway through the second round in a 10-man team. 10-man league. 250 carries, he's going to get you, probably 7, 8, 9 touchdowns somewhere.
Another guy this was actually a sleeper guy. He actually caught 53 balls last year, which is amazing.
For a guy that doesn't catch football.
He got his first, second, and third of touchdowns receiving of his career last year.
Yeah,
imagine that.
Yeah, I think he's solid. I'm not worried about Henry. If Henry was going to take the job, I think he would have already.
You can honestly lock him up. I think 12 touchdowns. I think you can lock him up in total this year.
Now he is getting up there in age too, so Henry is a guy you want to watch out for. If he does get hurt, hurry up and get that claim in there. If you're the waiver wire one and get Henry, he's hurt. I mean,
later on, depending on how many rounds, how many bench people you have, I'd honestly draft Henry late in the draft because if you can do that and not have to burn it, don't do it like they have in ESPN rankings where he's ranked in the 6th round. That's ridiculous.
Right.
You'd waste your 2nd, your 6th round in the same backfield. Don't do that.
But if you can get him late, double-digit rounds, somewhere around there, especially a dynasty league, you want to keep an eye out for because within a year or two, I think he will.
It might even be next year. And Henry is a beast. Don't get me wrong. He is a beast. He's just not going to take carries. I just
don't think he's better than him right now. So as soon as he starts to slow down a little bit, maybe if he gets more carries, maybe we'll see something different out of Henry.
I agree.
But you want to watch out for him if you're a dynasty league.
One of those things. If it's not broke, why fix it? That's the way I look at that backfield.
It keeps Murray fresh. I think it actually helps having Henry on there. He doesn't get hurt as much. He doesn't get 29 carries. He's going to get you 20 carries. Yep. He's going to get you 80 yards and a touchdown. And you're going to say thank you very much for my second round.
He was averaging 4 catches a game last year.
Yeah.
So, that's a career high for him.
Yep.
So, I definitely like him at that spot.
Yep. All very good points. Tyler, who do you have at 17?
This guy, it's going to be quarterback dependent when you draft him. I like him here because I think Dak can take the next step. But this is Des Bryant here. He only had 97 targets last year, but don't forget he was hurt for a lot of last year.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, we're talking about a guy that was picked in the top 5.
Talent
doesn't just disappear. He is still a freak.
He did have Tony Romo, so that was a big difference.
It was, but at the end of the year, he still was steadily getting the touchdowns.
He was good. I traded for him actually.
He still finished with 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He finished with 8 touchdowns.
Well, he had that foot thing that Edelman had. That takes a while. It took him about halfway through. Sammy Watkins has it. That's why Sammy Watkins ain't going to be good till the second half of the year. That's how Dez was. He had the year where he wasn't good, and he came back, and he was very slow to get in. Acclimated to the deal. Plus, they had Elliott, and they're going to run the ball like crazy.
Yep.
About halfway through the year, he really started turning on. He was really consistent. Touchdown. Most of his touchdowns came in that second half. Yeah. He was probably, just under a touchdown a game. I'd say around 0.8, 0.9.
Yeah, as soon as you got him, he was
great. He was 20 points a week for me in our league. That's really good for a receiver. And you get him at the end of the second round, boy.
Yeah, you're talking about a swing coming up, and you might get him in another one.
Yeah,
you could get someone else.
To me, he's the last of the superstars here for me.
Yeah.
Or close to it, anyway.
I agree.
Scott, what about 18?
So, I went Rob Gronkowski, as I can't talk today. This is only water. I went Gronk just because if he's healthy, he's not even here.
No.
Like, he's way higher.
He's way higher. And
you're talking about a guy that give you double-digit touchdowns.
Yeah,
he's option one with. I know Brady has 85 people to throw to this year, and every other year, it all runs through Gronkowski. It all does. When Gronk goes down, Edelman goes up. When Gronk is on the field, Edelman's numbers go down.
And Cooks is only going to help that out, I think, this year because that just you can't put a safety on him anymore. So you're going to see either a safety man-on-man or you're going to see linebackers in zone covering him.
Yeah, and if it's in zone, then Gronk's going to be a top 5 pick if he stays healthy.
Yeah.
And he has stayed healthy before. Guys, don't get misled. Gronk, I know he lost 8 games last year in the playoffs and was done for the year.
Yeah.
That's not always his case.
No.
Sometimes it's 4 games here. And that's a blow, but that's why he's not in the top 10 position.
It is.
That's why he's the end of the second.
for me, this is a guy also you take, and as soon as he plays Buffalo, you trade him. Because as soon as he gets you 35 points against Buffalo, you go get yourself one of these guys in the top 10.
Buffalo hasn't figured out how to cover them.
Yeah,
I know we got some Buffalo fans out there, but unfortunately they haven't stopped Gronk since he's been in the league.
And not to pick on Buffalo, but I mean he does it against Pittsburgh. He does it against all these other teams.
He's 6'7". He's got hands the size of my head, maybe twice the size. I mean he's freakishly
I forget what team it was against, but I remember he put his bear paw up and he caught the ball one-handed coming across the middle.
That was against Denver.
Yeah.
The back shoulder, yeah.
That was the same year as the Odell catch where Odell even said he had a better catch than me in that one.
Yeah, he's good. So, I mean, I just think his value there is just too good because if he does stay healthy, or maybe it's a philosophy thing, right? And like Tyler said, maybe you draft him to trade him. Don't be afraid to do that at the end of the second round. You see someone injury-ridden, Keenan Allen, maybe in the third or fourth rounds. I like Gronk there. He puts 4 or 5 games together. You wait for that big 2-3 touchdown game against Buffalo.
It's coming against one of these teams, and for me,
you get someone to jump all over him, and you can get a haul.
I think in most of your drafts, you're going to see him in the third. So on that swing, you might even be able to get him in the third. If you can do that, do it. Don't even think about that. If you can get him in the third round, no one else is going to. I know all the talk about Kelsey. He's a great tight end. He gets a lot of targets. They're going to go up, but Rob Gronkowski, don't make a mistake. He's the best tight end in football.
Yeah, it is him first. And if he was healthy, this wouldn't even be an argument.
No.
I mean, Kelsey would
like you said, he'd be a top 10 pick if he was healthy.
Right.
If you could guarantee me 16 games, I'd take him probably over Melvin Gordon, honestly.
Yeah,
that's easily where he goes. So,
and he's gone that high in our drafts as well.
Yeah, he does. I mean, we are New England fans, so I mean, it does help a little bit, but...
Right. But I think it warrants it. I mean, his rookie year, he did 17 touchdowns, like 1,200 yards.
1,200 yards, yeah. He was a beast that year.
When you average a touchdown a tight end, even the gap there between that guy and the next guy, I know Kels took the step up, and I think he's going to take another one. So I think the gap isn't as big, but years prior, I mean, it's a massive gap. It's Gronk up here and everybody else here.
And for me, where you might be able to get him in the third, I'd watch for Brady in the fourth if you get a swing where you can get him too. Because if you can get... I know a lot of people don't like quarterbacks early, but if he's healthy, that's... I'll be honest with you, I don't even draft quarterbacks early, but if I had Gronk, Brady's going to be on my list when it comes back around if some of the other players aren't there.
Right.
But same thing goes with Nelson. If you get Nelson, look for Rodgers in that third or fourth round because there's no better quarterback at the end of the year than Rodgers.
Yeah.
Like when you watch the end of the year last year, he was like 40 a week in our league.
Yeah,
he was going off.
Yeah, he had the stretch. He killed you in the beginning of the year, got better in the later year. I think Breeze is someone that's probably more consistent.
Yep.
I think Brady is going to come back and have a monster year, but that'll be a discussion for another show.
Yeah,
we'll get into the big quarterbacks there. I think drafting a quarterback that high is a little bit crazy, but
I agree with that. I just think that the upside to having the player.
Yeah, if you got the Brady,
there is an attractive part to that.
Having Brady and Gronk the touchdown, if Gronk caught the touchdown, Brady had the throw the touchdown, you get double points.
That's right there.
So it is something you want to watch out for. But it's a philosophy thing.
It is. And again, that's all you guys' preference.
I think Gronk warrants up there.
Yeah.
All very good opinions. Tyler, what about 19?
I went with Jay Ajayi here. I know a lot of people out there think he should be a lot higher than he is.
I don't know who those people are, just for the go on the record.
Yeah, I don't either because
I think he's too high at 19.
23% of his offense came on 7 carries. 7 carries was accounted for 23% of his fantasy points last year.
Wasn't it 40% of his offense? 40% of his yards came on, was it 3 games or 4 games?
Yeah, it was like 38 point something percent.
In 4 games?
In 4 games,
he had
he
two
scored.
twos, and he got a pair of ones.
Yep. In the last week of the year, he scored 200 again, 200 yards again.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah, he got it.
Maybe he had 1 then.
So
he's got 600 of his 1,200 yards in 3
games. 3 or 4 games. So, I mean, he's one of the guys that is going to go high. Don't buy the hype. That's just what I would tell you. And, I'm not a professional, but, I mean, for me, I don't want to take a risk when I'm taking him where he's going to go.
Right.
People have him in their top 10, and I think that's absurd, honestly. Yeah. I would never
I've seen him go in mock drafts in the top 10. I don't know if people
I've seen people take him at 6, and then they tell me I don't know anything. I took Michael Thomas at 11. I'm like, Michael Thomas might outscore him this year.
Right. Well, all reports are, though, he is in great shape. He wants to use him.
He did have 260 carries. So if you're in a league like ours that counts carries, he might be a little bit better.
Right.
Every 5 carries is a point for our league.
Right.
We try to keep it even between quarterbacks, receivers, tight ends.
Right. Otherwise, our running backs are kind of irrelevant unless you get one.
Unless you get one of the top few.
Which is why we always draft receivers so much. So this way here, it kind of brings those guys into irrelevancy a little bit more. So, but again, Gates
Gase.
Gase loves to use the running
He
backs.
does.
And he's
C.J.
in great
Anderson's
shape.
best year was with Gase.
That is correct. So there is reason to be excited about it. He's a little more overrated in my personal opinion, but at this point here too, you get to the end of the second round, start of the third. You know, you're gonna have a lot of questions on anybody you put here.
Exactly.
Everybody's got questions, or they'd be in the top 10.
Exactly. DeAndre Hopkins.
So it's going to be preference. Do you like the
Dolphins
Dolphins' offense? Do you like the division they play in? He should have easy matchups.
He should. I mean,
you know, he's got the Jets, who unloaded every defensive
twice.
player I think
Buffalo,
they had.
Buffalo, he ran both his games last year were 200-yard games against Buffalo. So,
No. One was the Jets.
He had 3.
Really, he did 2 against Buffalo. Okay.
He did 2 against Buffalo.
Right,
Week
I didn't know that.
17, and I don't remember
Very
the
good.
other one. So I think he had 209 in one of them.
Yeah, I think he's got good upside. His floor for me isn't high enough. You know, for me to go any higher. And again, like we said, they're all going to start having questions right there.
He did lose the job. Don't get that wrong.
Right,
he did lose the job to Arian
the
Foster.
starter.
He lost it to Arian Foster to start the year.
Yeah, but he did get it back, so
he did.
We'll see. And if he can hold it, then he has good upside, and we'll reevaluate. Boy, I cannot talk today, guys. I apologize. We'll reevaluate that next year. Maybe move into the top 15.
Who do you have running off at top 20?
So I got Todd Gurley. I know I've had Cooper here too, but I really like Gurley up here. I think he's going to get consistent carries again. I think he was at 278 last year. I think he stays there. I think his yards go up. He's just over 800 or just under 900 last year at 885. I think he gets into the thousands. I think they're going to use him better. He's going to get more goal line touches.
I agree with that. I like him for like 10, 11 touchdowns this year. I think he's never going to be really a pass catcher, although they are saying that they want to use him more in the passing game. And that's good news for you guys that are going to be fantasy owners of him, because if you're in a PPR league anyway, standard league, I mean, just the yards are all you're going to get. But.
Yeah, yards and touchdowns. And I got him about between 8 and 10. He had 6 last year in a really horrible season.
Yep.
To go up 2, 3, 4 touchdowns is really not a whole lot when the coach came out and said you're going to get all the goal line touches. Yeah. Instead of going down there and Jared Goff as a rookie is throwing 4 passes from the 1.
Yep.
You know, I didn't think he's Tom Brady, but that wasn't him. That was his coach. And, that they have a different philosophy. I kind of see him having a little bit better of a season now. And
he should have a better year.
And when you get to 20, it's just like we talked about. All these guys are interchangeable.
Shots.
You're taking shots. We know how good he can be. We've seen that 2 years ago in his rookie year.
Yeah, he did.
So if he can get a little bit closer to that than what he was last year, he can't get worse.
Yeah, you look at the people that are rated around here, though, and just from people I've seen, I mean, you got like Hopkins.
Right.
I don't really want to take a shot on him.
Right. And especially if you're looking running back, right? Like, who do you got after him? You're going to go with Miller from Houston?
Yeah, no way.
Nice little player, right? But not in a top 20.
Even in our
Carlos
league.
Hyde, there's nobody else. To me, it's him and Ajayi. It's that 2 spots right there. And I think Ajayi is probably going to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
But, I think Gurley's got potential to give you 8 touchdowns, and 1,000 yards. So in standard leagues, I think you're okay. In dynasty leagues, I kind of like him there too, because he is young, and if he gets better, that's great.
And he could fall a little bit this year. If you're doing a dynasty league this year, he could fall a little bit. Or if you're in one already, try to trade for him.
Yeah.
You might not have to pay that much. You might be surprised. Someone might be trying to unload him, panicking.
Right.
Because they took a high pick on him.
Especially if he has a bad game in game 1, right? Yep. Maybe you take a gamble, or maybe it's an average game, but you think he's got great upside. Maybe his matchups are better later on in the year. Yep. You know what I mean? So don't be afraid to gamble right
I'd look at someone like if you own Travis Henry. Derrick Henry. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking of old Buffalo running back. But I would honestly try trading him for Gurley. If there's a bad game, and I know dynasty leagues, we don't play him, but I know a lot of people that do, and they love Henry. So if you have him, I mean, you could probably get Gurley or someone like that for it.
Right.
Or maybe throw a receiver or something into.
So it really depends on the league you're playing.
Yeah.
For us, we're a 10-team PPR, so for us, PPR for him isn't that much. I mean, he did have 43 catches, but that number's coming down. He's not going to get 43 catches.
I don't know. They say they want to get him more catches.
That coach, when he was with the Redskins, Alfred Morris had his good year, and he never caught a lot of balls either. His offenses, McVay's his running backs don't catch a lot of balls as far as the guy like Gurley. But he's going to get goal line touches. Yeah, and that number's going to go up.
The goal line pass catcher, I think, is Benny Cunningham.
Yeah, Benny Cunningham.
Like that. So he is going to take most of the passing work. But.
Yeah, I mean Gurley's not going to be there for that. So I think you're going to be good in the standard league. You're going to be good in PPR. Just because I think he's going to be 1,000 yards and 8 to 10 touchdowns.
I think he's a little bit better receiving this year than you do. I think he gets 1 or 2 touchdowns on the air. I think, and maybe that puts him at a 10 or 11. I think if you get 10 or 11 touchdowns out of him, you should be jumping for joy.
Well, look, he can't get worse because he had 0 last year.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly.
So it's only upside from there.
Yep.
So, but that rounds up our top 20, guys. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow our Facebook page, and keep your
Yeah.
eyes out for episode 2.
Yeah, well, guys, we're emailing too. We're taking email questions probably the next couple weeks. So email us up, fantasyfootballwrapup@gmail.com. Follow our Facebook, guys. A lot of people jump on our Facebook stuff. It's new, right? You're not going to go on there and see 15,000 members. I think we're up to 20.
Yeah.
But jump on there. We're just some guys that like to shoot the.
Yeah, we just like to, if you want to ask questions, talk about us, tell us what you think about the the videos and stuff like that. We're gonna
do mock drafts. We'll grade them. Who do you like better? Peterson, Jamal Charles. We've had some of those conversations.
Yep.
It's great, Chad. If you got time, we're just here to shoot.
We'll do mock drafts with you too. So if you want to do mock drafts,
absolutely.
Go ahead and email us.
Check us out. So the Facebook one, it's Fantasy Football Wrap Up, but it's a capital letter for each word. So capital F for football, capital F for fantasy, capital W for wrap, capital U for up.
Yep.
But it's all one word, right? So check it out. We'll approve you right away. We're looking for members again, just to have some fun, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And then check us out. We'll have some more videos up as well. The Donster over here is going to get us up on Twitter pretty soon here, so we're going to be all over social media. Check us out. We'll see you. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too.